Welcome to our next segment. In this segment, we have Taylor, Nancy, and Richard all with us. Welcome all.
Thank you.
So first, Taylor, tell me, we've been discussing about communication a little bit. So how is it like communicating to your loved ones when you first kind of told your mom about the diagnosis, your loved ones about the diagnosis? Do you think you could have more resources at that time? What do you think, how did you communicate?
So for us, we've always been a family that has had very open communication, and no topic was really off limits. And so that kind of is how my cancer diagnosis and communication was with my family. But I think that, not everybody is like that, and not everybody is open like we are. And so I think if you can have initial conversations with the patient and the caregiver team about what you want to talk about, what you don't want to talk about, is important because it makes everybody's life easier moving forward. And YourCancerGamePlan.com provides tips and resources for patients that need help in communicating and doing it effectively.
So that's very important because the first time you hear the diagnosis, kind of everything falls apart, so that's very important. Now tell me, you were in college at that time, your sorority sisters told me about that. How was your interaction with them?
So that was actually really unique for me because as a 21-year-old, you're not fully an adult. And to grasp and understand the severity of the situation and what I was going through, I think was challenging for all of us, myself included. And so for me as well, physically, I didn't change a whole lot. So I did lose a little bit of weight just from the surgery and not having as big of an appetite. But I was extremely weak and very sore from the surgery. And so, sorority sisters and girlfriends, once I got back to college, were like, would come up and try to bear hug me, and I'm like,
Still
okay,
hug us, you're like, stop.
Yes.
You feel like everything,
yeah.
I love you, but don't hug me.
Right. And so, for them on the outside, I looked fine, but emotionally and physically, I was a completely different person. And so I think trying to communicate the severity of what I had gone through was probably one of my biggest challenges.
Do you think at 21 they understand like a little bit, or did they want to make everything rosy, saying, you're great, everything's great?
Yeah, I don't think anybody at that age can truly understand that kind of diagnosis. So, and I think oftentimes people don't know what to say, and so they just try to make everything positive. And while I appreciate that, there are times where, everything isn't positive, and it can be difficult for patients because, everything isn't rosy and peachy. And so trying to, I think what was helpful for me was that there were certain friends that I could have more in-depth conversations, and then there were some that just could not comprehend. And that's okay. It didn't mean that they didn't love me or that they didn't care. It's just that they couldn't go there. And everybody kind of processes differently. But trying to understand and grasp that as a 21-year-old myself was challenging.
Amazing, and I think you did an amazing job. Now tell me, did you ever end up going to the spring break that you missed? Did you end up going on vacation with them?
I did. I got an opportunity to go several times, and we still get together on a regular basis.
It's amazing. So the friends you had as sorority sisters, you still meet up and talk and everything?
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So Nancy, tell me, from a caregiver's perspective, how important was communication?
It was very important. It was important for us to be able to communicate with Taylor, but it was also important to be able to talk to her care team and also to communicate with other family members and extended family members and the support system of the people within our church and our neighborhood.
So it's very, very important, you think. So do you think you had layers of communication, like different with the, and how did you take care of all that? That's a lot of stuff, like a lot of people calling in with great tips, not great tips, like we talked about before, there's some researchers out there, some doers, some friends and everything. So how did you, that's a full-time job by itself.
Right. Well, my husband was very helpful with that as well because I tended to be more the errand runner, and he tended to man the home front and answer the phone, accept the meals as they came in, instruct his mom who came and helped us. And so we just kind of worked as a team, and everybody had a role.
Moms, are always special, but I'm a dad, so what about dad, Sailor? Tell me a little bit about your journey with your dad. How was that? How did that impact your cancer journey and your cancer care?
Yeah, so my dad was a huge part of.
I'm glad you said that. Good.
Yeah. You know, I think what was really unique is that everybody kind of had a role in my diagnosis and recovery. And so, like Mom said, you know, Mom was by the bedside, asking a lot of questions, you know, just trying to keep us moving forward. And Dad, you know, he was by the bedside too, but he would, you know, answer the phone because Mom couldn't talk because the nurse was in the room, or, you know, coordinate stuff at home, or run to get me something other than hospital food because I didn't want to eat the hospital food.
So what was something other than hospital food?
So I craved cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburgers.
And at that point, they were just
hungry now.
happy that I would eat anything, just because, you know, I hadn't eaten a whole lot.
Like
And
not
so-
hospital cheeseburgers.
No, like he left the hospital, drove down the road, came back, brought it. So he definitely took good care of me, and you know, sometimes you just need a good cheeseburger.
That's right. So do you have conversations with your dad about this, or was it more with your mom and with your sister? What kind of, you know, have you ever sat down with your dad after that and talked about it, or, you know?
Oh yeah, you know, we talk about it. You know, as it gets farther and farther out, you still, you know, you don't talk about it as much. I will say that one thing that my dad did for me throughout my childhood was pushed me athletically, and not like in a bad way, but like encouraged me, and always was the dad that was there to support me. So
Was he the one screaming from the sidelines?
no,
Get off!
we had
Get off!
a
No?
rule that was like, if you don't have anything nice
Not
to
the
say,
crazy dad,
don't
not like
say
me, no,
anything
okay.
at all. But he would, you know, before I had my license, he would get up in the morning and take me to the gym. Or at night, if in North Carolina, it's too hot to run during the day. So when he'd get home from work and the sun would go down, he wasn't fast enough to run with me, so he would get in the car and just follow me while I would run.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
In the car. Running while in the car.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So you know, he did things that a lot of dads don't do, and you know, I credit a lot of my success athletically to him, because if I didn't have him there encouraging and supporting, I don't necessarily know if I would have been able to play.